Hello. Welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the hostess, whatever, of this podcast. And I'm excited to be here. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here. I wasn't on last week. Yeah, a lot of reasons, but I'm here now. And I want to talk to you about what is stopping you from doing what you really want to get done. I mentioned before the last few episodes that the next month in June, and if you're listening to this later, it's still happening in June. Might be past. I know things like that date the podcast, but oh well. Anyway, I'm going to work on decluttering and work with you on decluttering if you want to do that. Get rid of things, clear things out, organize. And there are a lot of things that block us from doing things like that. We might have a project that we want to do, and maybe yours isn't decluttering. Maybe that isn't something that you deal with. That's not a problem that you have. For me, it is, but I could fit maybe 20 other things into this category of wanting to get something done and not doing it. Thinking about it all day long during the week. And sometimes we forget what we want to do. That could be a reason for not getting something done. But other times we don't get it done because we forget. Well, okay, I can't even think straight. We forget that we're talking about not forgetting. Okay, that's not it. Other times we don't get it done because we have some kind of resistance. There's some kind of resistance. It might be that the project is just too big. It's overwhelming. And we use that word a lot when we talk about ADHD blocks or things that we struggle with. Sometimes things can be overwhelming because they're just too huge. How can I do this on my own? Maybe you can't do it on your own. Do I hire somebody to do it? And then that takes a lot of effort. You make phone calls, you look up people, you bring people over, you do all this research, and maybe still it's not getting done. Or you hire somebody to do something and it doesn't turn out very well. So there can be a lot of things that get in the way. Even just thinking, I just want to do it myself, but I'm not sure how to do it by myself. So identifying whatever it is, whatever resistance, or if you've ever heard of friction, if you have friction, if you've got sandpaper, you're trying to glide, you're ice skating, you're trying to glide, and there's sandpaper there, that's not going to happen, right? So you have to think of what is that friction. And it can be a lot of things. But just identifying one thing can be helpful because it can make a difference in you being able to start. I talked a few weeks ago about doing some is better than none. And that's true. That's true. Even if it just gives you a little edge on the project. Or, like laundry. I talk about laundry a lot. But doing laundry, you can do some instead of done. And it can pile up just as much a day or two, a week later. And you feel like, well, did I even make a dent in it? Maybe, maybe not, but you were able to find socks that morning. You were able to clear out some space that day, or you were able to be productive in a way that was helpful. So just that friction of thinking, I don't want to just do a little bit. I want to do the whole thing. That can be a block. That can be a block if you think I don't want to do it unless I can do all of it. A lot of times we have so much going on in our heads that is blocking us, but we're not really paying attention to it. I mean, we might get busy in the mindset. If you think of what's going on in your mind as chatter, and it just can stir up on its own. It can be background noise to your ability to try to think clearly. You have all these thoughts coming up, or you have emotions that you're not identifying as thoughts. But you have something that's making you think now is not a good time. Now is not a good time. Not today, maybe on Friday, maybe on Monday, maybe next week. And those things get you stuck. They get you to where you're not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And then you have the thoughts that are negative to yourself. Like, why can't I get that done? If I could just do this, I could get this done. What's wrong with me? How come that person can do this? How come I can't? And all of those things can get in the way of just your own ability to feel good about yourself. And that's important, to feel good about yourself. So an example is my podcast. Obviously, I like to talk about it because it's what I'm doing. So last week I wasn't on. The week before, I knew you have grandchildren coming for 2 weeks, and then you're going to go to visit them a week later, 3 weeks. Can I make 3 weeks worth of podcasts? Sure, I can. I've done it before. And I know a woman, the woman that I was in Israel who, okay, let me back up. She is the host of a podcast, and I was a guest. I didn't know how to say that in reverse. But she had a baby last year, and she recorded a whole year's worth of podcast episodes. She publishes one a week. So she set up all the topics of her podcast and recorded all of them before her baby was born so she could continue with that. And that worked for her. I wouldn't really want to do that. I mean, I admire her for it, but I wouldn't want to do it because I'd feel out of touch. I'd feel like it's not really me talking to you anymore because it's so far out. I kind of feel like that when I even go out of town and record a few and I'm not actually here a day or two before recording it. I don't know. It just isn't. I'm such one of those people that wants things to feel as genuine as possible. And I know that's dumb, but that's me. So, I mean, I shouldn't say it's dumb, but not everybody feels that way, and I do. So I'm trying to learn to not apologize about the things that are me. So back to that. So the internal chatter that you have in your mind can stop you from doing something. So I decided to rearrange where I record my podcast. And part of that was because I was planning ahead. I knew that my grandchildren would be here for 2 weeks and they would be in that room, and being able to clear them out or move around, anyway, it just seemed like maybe you should just move all the podcast stuff here where you teach yoga, and I teach yoga. If I turn that way, there's a big white cabinet, and I teach yoga there because it's important to me that people can see my body, my shape, while I'm doing yoga. Not that I think like I have the best shape ever at all. It's just that I know that they need to see what I'm doing. And if I have something dark behind me or distracting, then they won't be able to see it. So that's where I teach that. But I learned very quickly that when I came in here, I was so ready to pre-record some episodes. And I learned the hard way that without carpet in here, with tall ceilings, no curtains, no sofa. Upstairs there's a sofa and there was a mattress on the floor. We don't have a real bed in there. But there was enough sound absorption that the podcast sounded fine. I started recording in here, and thankfully I tested it without talking for an hour. But it was horrible. It was so echoey. It was like I was talking into a bucket. And I thought that can't work. That can't work. So I did some things to, I basically brought in rugs and towels and blankets and even coats, like these teddy bear coats. I have a bunch of them in here. My daughter and I each have one. I actually even have, if you're watching on YouTube, I even have the biggest stuffed animal in our whole house that my daughter's boyfriend and bought for her, one for her in a game at Dave & Buster's. I've never been there. But anyway, so yeah, I brought all these things in here so that I could record a week or two ago. But they were such short episodes because I had to really figure out each time, okay, I've got my yoga set up. So I had a lot of friction. I had to do a lot of setup before I could do it. And then I decided I want a real nice big carpet in here. Not carpet, but a big rug. I want it to be smooth in here before I record. I want it to be where I've got my yoga set up, I've got my podcast recording set up, and I can just come in and record like I did when it was upstairs. I haven't had a chance to do that. I worked and worked and worked on it, but I think I have way too many things in here. And I've worked on it a lot, but I had a lot of friction. I had a lot of resistance because it wasn't perfect. And right now it's not perfect either. I'm sitting in the middle of the room. There's a lot of stuff everywhere. But I decided if you want to be able to publish some episodes this week, you need to stop thinking about, but you have 5 grandchildren here, the 4 that are my daughters and my other granddaughter who lives here, not with us, but locally. And you need to just decide it's okay if we hear someone running up and down the stairs. Maybe you won't even hear it. I don't know. I haven't tested that. But I needed to take that off of my resistance list. What else did I need to take off my resistance list? That I needed to have everything set up so I could just come in and do it. So I spent however long I've been in here, half hour, the lights changed. The kids are probably going to get hungry. We were going to go swimming. Now it's 5:00, all those things. But I decided that no matter what resistance I run into, I need to look at that and just say, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. And whatever idea you have in your head, or whether you recognize it or not, I can't do it now because it might be real. It might be real. It might be a distraction that could happen. Someone could walk in the store any minute and disrupt, or whatever. It might be a real disruption. But if you're able to get some, or actually all, done because you're not fearing that resistance, or you're not taking it into account, you're not being a perfectionist about it, like it has to be this certain condition. Like my roots, honestly, they do not show up this gray when I'm just looking in the mirror, at least unless I'm clueless or something. I'm supposed to get it colored in a couple of weeks. And I was afraid to do it on my own. I have been doing it on my own forever, but since I did highlights, I thought I might mess it up, so I'm not doing it. But I decided, pretend like this is a YouTube video for dyeing your roots. And at the beginning, this is what people look like. So I have to live in the land of make-believe sometimes to deal with my resistance. So yeah, so that's one of them. Then we're pretending that this is a hair coloring. How to color your roots with ADHD. It's like avoid. I've done it for years actually, but I'm now avoiding it because I don't know how to do it with highlights. But yeah, all of those things I decided they can't be important if I want to do this. And whatever it is that you want to get done this week, today, tomorrow, don't put it off anymore. Find a way, even if there's just a little bit of time, find a way to start on it. Find a way to give up on some of that friction that you see as friction in your mind. Somebody else might not think of it as friction. They might not think, I don't want to hear from Renee if she has roots that look weird with her hair. They may not be thinking that. And obviously, when I talk about it, it's bringing it up, right? It's bringing it up to where you'll see it, and I'm okay with that. It's okay. If you were my friend, you'd be here and we'd be fine, right? I have to start thinking that way with my podcast and YouTube. It's a little scarier to have a video because, there are people in the world that are mean and stuff, but I don't care. Honestly, I don't care because I want to be in touch with you. I know there are tons, whatever the number is, of women who are finding out that they have ADHD or learning more about it. They've known for a while, but now they're starting to put the pieces together. And you may think, this is how I am. I've thought this for a while, like this is how I am. And actually, it's not how I am because it's been changing hormonally. I think in the last 10, 20 years, I have seen changes. So it's not how I've always been. Some things are the hyper part, that I can't stand being in line, all that kind of stuff. Some of them are the same, but other things, it's kind of like, why am I like this? What is going on? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I the only one that feels like I'm complaining inside or can't do it inside or whatever those things are? It may be something you've dealt with forever, or it might be new to you. And if you understand what is happening with your executive dysfunction or your emotional dysregulation, if you have either of those two things, or too many thoughts, it can, in the way there's so many things. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Do you vacillate? Do you vacillate between laughing at how crazy it can be and then other times just like, oh my goodness, like my klutziness? I don't know very many women with ADHD besides my cousin who's as klutzy as I am, but I think I just broke another toe the other night and it just bashed into a door. And that would be not good to begin with. I'm watching 4 grandchildren here and all that stuff, but it's okay. And, I can deal with that. I'm teaching yoga. I can deal with it. I've done this before. I've broken my foot 3 times and broken multiple toes since I started teaching yoga. But so I don't know if it's broken or not. But The thing is the next day I bashed it like 3 more times. And each time I'm just like, my ADHD, like, why? Why am I so not aware? Why? But this is who we are. This is who you are. Maybe you're not exactly like me. But whatever it is, every once in a while you might get just kind of tired of that. You might be thinking, why do I have so much friction to getting stuff done? Why do other people just look like they just, oh, this is what I need to do today. I'm going to make my to-do list. And then they just do it. Or they sign up for a course and they just take it. It's really been fun to imagine now that I know I have ADHD, that when I create courses for you, they're going to have the ADHD person in mind of, I might buy this and forget I even bought it. Or I might sign up for it and look at it and think I can't do this today and this is why. Or I might commit to it and then wish I hadn't, all those things that I've done. Yeah. But back to you. Okay, let's look at some of the things that could be blocking you. That could be even hard for you to see what's blocking you. You might be in such a pattern in your day of doing, going, getting things done and everything and thinking, I need to do that, but I don't have time now. I need to do that, but I have to do that. And you might be putting out fires all the time. You might have a day or a week or a life that is just full. And at the end of the day, you think, oh, I should have called my mom or whoever there is in your life that you wish you were in touch with more. And you haven't because you've been busy. That could be it. But you also might just not be scaling your project well or not be aware of what could be stopping you from starting. One could be is that the project is just way too big. It is too big. It is too big for you. And sometimes that's because you don't know how to do all of it. You might need to learn to do some things first. It might be actually not a one-person job. It might be a 3-person job. And looking at that and deciding, do I really want to do it like that? Do I want to scale back on my expectation or my goal with it? Maybe you do. Sometimes you have to kind of shave it down and not make it so huge. Like if you decided, I'm going to repaint my front door and paint all of the, what are they called, shutters on the side, and I'm going to refinish the porch or whatever, and you think, I'm going to do it yourself person. I want to do that. Maybe you start thinking, I'll just wash the door. I'll just clean the door. I'll get a power washer and clean it. You might just do something like that and not make the project as big for yourself, or just do the one thing because it's, like I said to my friend a few weeks ago, I gave the mouse a cookie and I created 1,000 problems for myself because I just didn't realize that I was getting in over my head in doing something that seemed like a simple decision or a simple idea. It just was way bigger than I could see. So if you are sensing that, but you haven't really looked at it, maybe just even if you like to write in a notebook, even if you'll never look at it again, it can help you organize your brain, or a Google Doc or whatever it is. Writing down what's involved or all the little things you might have to do might help you see that maybe that's not the best idea, or maybe it might take more time, or maybe you need to not schedule as much of this or that so you can do it. So that can be part of it. Another thing is just not really understanding how to do it. You don't know what the end product really, what you really want it to be like. Maybe you need to talk to somebody about it and figure that out, or you don't understand all the steps in between. You might know how to start. You might not know how to finish. You might not know what all is involved. So doing that research, talking to people is really helpful, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to research online, but I think sometimes we miss the human connection of just talking to somebody else who's done something similar and ask them what's involved. And sometimes they'll offer good advice or even offer to help you. But just knowing you don't have to be overwhelmed. You don't have to not do it because you don't understand it. You can find simple ways to understand and even just get an idea then if that's what you want to do or not. But also just if there's a lot of decisions that need to be made in the process, that's one of the things I struggle with is the decision making. Because I look at people who are developing their website and they say, you can set up this website in 20 minutes or in 24 hours. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding. Because yeah, I could if I didn't care what it looked like, but I overthink all the decision making. Do I want this color? Do I want that color? Some of that is hard to do when you struggle with that decision making, with is this really what I want to do? Is this really what I want to do? And sometimes you have to just say, well, let's just do it this way now. And if you decide to change it later, you can. Just go in that direction. Just start walking. Commit to something. My kids actually help with that. I have 6 kids, and they'll just say, Mom, it's okay. Just do that. That's fine. And it does help to ask other people's advice. Not that we're always seeking confirmation. Like we can't make a decision on our own as far as like feeling good about it. If it's your idea and you do feel good about it, but just getting a little confirmation that, that top that you're wearing and you've had it for 10 years, it is still in style. You can wear that, decision making with getting dressed. But yeah. And with getting rid of clutter, that is a really hard thing because there are so many decisions to make and so many emotions that can come up, and defining what those decisions are before you begin, like with getting rid of stuff, having rules, a checklist. You can probably find them online. I've got my own that I've used, not recently enough, but do I really love this? Does this fit? Do I care about it that much? Am I attached to it because someone gave it to me and I'm trying to please them? All those little things, if you make that checklist and actually have it on the wall while you're doing it, it can help you because you've already made your decision. And it can be that way if you're deciding website colors. If you're building a website, I don't know if you are, probably not as many people are. But if you spend a certain amount of time deciding on those colors and then deciding that you're not going to change your mind, at least for a while, at least till it's all set up. It's okay to complete it and then make changes instead of making every step take extra long. So, decision overload. Too many options. And it's not just a thing where your brain gets overwhelmed, but you also can just do research forever. You can plan and research and decide and do this or that, or what about that, and weigh the options forever. So, if there's one decision you can even define that makes everything else easier, like it's okay if my grandchildren make noise, and they haven't. They probably will now that I say that. But if you just make that decision in your mind of resisting some kind of friction, then that can be helpful. Another thing is if you're afraid that you won't do a good job with it. You're afraid to start because you don't know if you're competent. Especially if it's something that other people might see, you're afraid of failing. You're cooking dinner and you don't want to do it. And maybe other people don't struggle with cooking dinner as much as I have in the past 20 years. And I actually have failed at a lot of meals. It's kind of embarrassing. But whatever. What can you do, right? What can you do? I pre-made my potatoes for Thanksgiving and everything, cooked them again, just thinking it would heat them up. They were still not soft enough. Made me angry. but no one else is thinking about it anymore but me. What if you are not doing something because you want to feel ready to do it? You want to feel like, not just that you know what to do, but you feel like there has to be an ideal situation. Like I need to start this when my desk is all clean, or when I get a new desk, or when I can move into this office, or when everyone's gone. I have a lot of that in me. Is if no one else is here, it's so much easier. But since we've moved here, it's kind of hardly ever that no one else is here. So I'm having to learn to work with that resistance. But yeah, so if you're waiting to feel ready for something, look at what's happening in your mind and ask yourself, why do I not feel ready? And is it okay to start even if I'm not ready, or if I don't feel ready, or if I feel like people will think, why is she doing that? She doesn't even know how to do it that well. That imposter syndrome thing. If I just do this many more times, then I'll be good enough to do it. If it's something that other people may see. The truth is, the more you do it, the more you get better at it. And I decided to clean. So we have a swimming pool. This is our first house with a pool. Yay. And we also have what we call the lemon pool. It's the jacuzzi. And my grandchildren aren't happy that we're not heating it, but it's 90 degrees outside. So anyway, so we're not spending money heating it, but it had a leak. So many hours. My husband, a couple of my sons have spent time cleaning it out, fixing the leak, fixing the this and all this stuff. But it didn't have any water in it except for some rain and a lot of bugs. If you hate bugs, I'll spare you the details. We're in Florida, so they're big. And I'm not afraid of bugs, but I was just like, whatever. But we've been out there swimming, and the lemon pool is attached to the swimming pool, kind of like it's up a little higher, and then a little waterfall from it, like the water pumps through and it'll go into the pool. But it wasn't doing that because the water was just rainwater, just, 6 inches, 10 inches, whatever it was. And because I'm klutzy, last week I was going out there with my grandchildren, and I always take, because I have that perfectionist, especially when I've taken my medicine, I just want to clean the pool the whole time I'm in it. I just want to take the little screen. If I see anything, the screen strainer, whatever it is. Anyway, so before we get in, I usually go to the corners and see if there's any bugs or anything. Well, there were 3 big ones, and I won't tell you what they were if you hate them. But anyway, so since I saw 3, I said, oh, and because of my reaction, I'm standing there, and there's not a lot of standing space between the pool and the hot tub, the not hot tub, which is not full, and it has a step all the way around. They call it a lemon pool because it's a half circle. And one of my feet goes into that space of the hot tub, but my balance was good enough and I wasn't rocking over so much that I actually fell in. But had I fallen in, this little toe that got bashed, whether it's broken or not, would be nothing compared to what could have happened. Broken leg, broken hip, concussion, whatever. There's cement there. There was hardly any water in it. And I just realized this is really dangerous. Like, why are we not filling this up and finishing the project? So this is all about getting something done. So I just decided, this project is big. I don't know what I'm doing with it. I haven't worked on it at all. And I keep asking my husband, like, how do we clean the pool? What do we do? How do I turn the pump on? All these things that with mechanical stuff, my brain doesn't digest it very well. So it's just not the information that I retain very well. So anyway, I decided he was out of town on Friday, and I decided you need to go out there while the kids are happy playing and get that water out of there, clean it out, and put water in it. Even if it's still leaking, I didn't know if it was. I was hoping it wasn't going to electrocute me because it had a light in there with wiring, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Anyway, so I knew we had a wet dry vac because I gave my husband one last year for Father's Day, I think. His birthday, Father's Day, something like that. And it's really big. And so I thought, I'm just going to put this in. I've used one, like 15 years ago. I'll put this in. It will soak up all the water, and I'll be done. Well, I didn't know what I was doing, but I started doing it. And after a little while, I realized it wasn't sucking up any water. And so my husband wasn't there to ask him what was going on. And I realized I didn't have the lid on right. And so then I got the lid tight so it had some suction. And it brought in a little bit of water, but not very much. Well, I realized there was already a lot of water in there. My husband had used it for something else. Super, super heavy thing. I had to bring it down a step and push it outside. We have I don't know if you've been to Florida. I don't know if other states are like this, but they call it, they have Florida rooms where they have a big screen around them. It's like your back deck because the bugs are so big and it will keep the bugs out. But they also do that around pools to keep leaves and things out. And I think in some cases, alligators. But we don't have a lot of water around our house. So thankfully, we haven't dealt with that. But anyway, so I had to open the screen door. There were a lot of parts, but I thought, okay, I can do this. It was super clunky. It was kind of exhausting. I was getting really tired. but I would open the screen door, kind of prop it up without like going too far that the plug would come out and everything, and would dump out the water. I thought I'd have to do it once or twice. I did it at least 15 times. It took forever and ever and ever. But what was really great, I thought was really fun, is every time I did it, I made a mistake. Well, probably 10 to begin with. There were so many things like, oh, you're pulling out the plug, or you're going too far, or the screen doors, like running into the plug, like the cord, and now you can't get it out. And, all these things. And then it's so heavy, it's hard to turn over. Okay. So I learned little things each time, like take the whole lid off, and the cords actually attach the lid. So the lid can stay closer. You need the lid on so it doesn't splash out. I was learning as I was going. And it really took all of those 15 times to understand how much water was actually coming in, how to identify when it wasn't coming in, because for a long time I'd kind of just keep standing there, and how to do it without it being so clunky. It was still dirty and horrible, but I was able to do it. I sprayed some more water in there, cleaned it out, vacuumed up some more, and filled it up. And I didn't get shocked, thankfully. I don't advise anybody to do this without really knowing if they would get shocked or not. But thankfully I didn't, because I'd seen my husband, I think. Anyway, so yeah, I was able to make it safe. And now there's water in there and it's working. And I just loved the whole idea that I hadn't done it for a long time. None of us had done it. None of us wanted to do it. And I kept forgetting about it unless I go out there. But once I decided it was a priority, I didn't care if I didn't know how to do it. I didn't care if it was too big of a project. I just wanted to get it done. It was a safety issue. I thought whether it takes a little bit of time or a lot of time, it's a lot less time consuming than breaking your leg and dealing with that, all the disruption to life. So the little disruption is better than a lot of disruption. But yeah. So yeah. Whatever it is that's stopping you, even if you don't know what you're doing, if you can figure out a step or two and get going on it, you will learn as you go. And you'll learn what doesn't work. That's kind of my way of excelling at something, is continuing to learn from my mistakes of what isn't working here. Okay, what else should I do? I might need to research a little bit, or I might just need to think about it and do that. But yeah. And then, the distractions, possible distractions, creating the perfect circumstances. Sometimes that is really nice. It is really nice. And sometimes it's necessary. But if you're never getting something done, if you're never working out at home because people might disrupt you, then maybe you just do it anyway and see if you get a disruption. Sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. Whatever that is, or help prepare the other people. When I first started working out at home, and I don't really anymore, but when I first started working out at home, my kids were really little. I just had my fourth baby, and I did a little bit with the third. This is how it is with ADHD. When you tell a story, you're like, is that really accurate? Let me tell a bunch of details that don't really matter. But yeah. Anyway, when I became very consistent after I had my fourth baby, my oldest daughter, I think, was in kindergarten. And I just told him, things are going to change around here. In the morning, I need to work out. I liked baby gates a lot. Those were really good definers of rules. And I put a baby gate up in my room, had a little TV in there, worked out to a video on my TV in there. And I said, you can't ask for this, or this till I'm done. And it worked out. So yeah. Last thing. Sometimes you don't do something because you really don't want to do it. You really don't want to do it. And maybe you can find somebody else who can do it instead, or just find another alternative. Or you're just doing it for the wrong reasons. You're doing it because you feel like you're supposed to do it. You feel like people expect you to do it. If you don't feel like doing it, you don't have to. Unless you're caring for someone. If you're responsible for someone else, then yeah. But anyway, so yeah, just identifying what's going on. Even if you're just identifying one thing at a time and saying it out loud, just kind of saying, what's stopping me from doing this? is this something I can get past? It can be as simple as that. It can be in your words. What's stopping me from doing it? Is it something I can get past? And can I just do it anyway? And, just start. Just start. It's like jumping in the water when you kind of feel like, I don't know, it looks cold. I don't know if I want my hair to get wet. I have makeup on. I don't know, all those things. Just jump in. Just jump in. So yeah. I think that's it. I think that is it. Just noticing what's stopping you, identifying it. And there's my granddaughter. Do you hear her? I'm almost done, sweetheart. I'll let you go. Yeah. I did want to say you can also kind of like fill in the blanks, like Mad Libs. You can say, even though this that you think might be a problem, or even though I feel nervous, even though, identify what you still can do. I can still do this. I can still do that. Look into the possibilities. So I guess that's it for today. And I'm not even going to end fancy. I know I'm supposed to end certain ways. That's my expectation. And I'm going to give that up today. But thanks so much for being here. I'm going to put this out after Memorial Day because I know some of you might be gone. But happy Memorial Day. You'll hear this after. But if you want to join me in June, write to me, Renee at inspiringwomenadhd.com. That's going to be my not so private email address. I'm not going to use that for my newsletters because I'm running into some resistance with that. I spent 2 days with that. I'm going to use my other one. But anyway, that one, it can be just to write to me. I'll write back. Talk to you later. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.